Okay, and we should now be live for the 5th session of our Heart of Darkness Edge of the Empire campaign. Last session saw the players struggling to get their ship fully operational after the damage they took earlier on in the game from pirates, which may or may not have had something to do with this Goral Liberation Front. Various things have happened on Quen Station, and it's led to a meeting of the minds, I suppose you'd call it, between Tycho Madar and the central droid control node, a figure known as the Builder, who agreed to help them out in return for them removing the apprentice of the Crimson Queen, a strange figure that they believe to be a Force user or some kind of witch, who the Builder revealed is apparently not the actual apprentice of the Crimson Queen, but is actually an Imperial agent manipulating the Crimson Queen so that the Empire can sort of rule this sector under the table whilst maintaining plausible deniability. During the session, Tycho also ran into an old once friend, now turned bitter rival of his, the Rhodian hacker Birdo, who Tycho, being a very naughty person, stole an invention off him, which he flogged to make a lot of money, which left Birdo not very happy and in a lot of debt to various shady underworld figures. All of this culminated with Tycho apparently tracking Birdo down to the Golden Leku, a swanky, ritzy style hotel in one of the better districts of Quen Station. When he got in there, he walked in, gun out, ready to settle this grudge, old school styley, only to find out that all there was in the room was a dead Twi'lek woman, a data pad, and she had this huge blaster burn in the centre of her chest. As he entered and sort of swizzled the chair round to look at the figure, the datapad started emitting a loud alarm, and he realised that effectively he was stood over a body that had been killed with a blaster shot, holding a blaster pistol with a loud shrieking alarm going off. This was followed up shortly by a gruff sounding voice shouting "let me in," hammering on the door, as obviously the alarm had attracted station personnel. So we'll be picking up this session momentarily with Tycho in hot water, still in the Golden Leku. We have Ralbak, Relata and Link on their ship, which is now pretty much good to go. Link has been in touch with Remo Taylor, the Nortolan gambler, who's revealed that in a couple of days' time a rogue planet is going to be passing through this system, and apparently it has an old ruined separatist vessel on it, which is reputed to hold information that may lead to some powerful weapon known only as the Dark Star. Link and the group have accepted a contract to go there and try and retrieve this. In return for this, they've been given 2,500 credits, which is a quarter of the pay of this mission, to buy whatever equipment they need, etc. So I'm going to get the players to introduce their characters, and then we'll jump straight into it. So, Jason, if you can introduce yourself and say a bit about your character.
Okay, so my name is Jason. I am playing Link. Not much is really known about him, except he has been incarcerated for a long period of time, and he has been sent out, but still being kept in supervision, I guess, to make sure he doesn't do anything too terrible. He essentially wants to carve out his own path now and just live a life of chaos, doing what he loves the most, which often involves dismembering people. But he's still decided to join a group in order to make a bit of money, which is what he's doing at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. And Johannes, please introduce yourself and say a bit about your character.
Right, so I'm Johannes, and I'll be playing Tycho Madar, the aforementioned slicer for one of the criminal outfits operating in the sector. He's essentially a corporate man, but working for, well, the mob. And he's an older gentleman, salt and pepper hair. He's occasionally grimacing because of some neural damage from his cybernetics, and currently he is trying his best to stay alive so that he can leave the Quen station and start making some money for his employers. And he will be trying to evade capture momentarily.
Thank you very much. And last but by no means least, Andrew, if you can introduce yourself and say a bit about your character, please.
Sure, Andrew Knapp here. I am playing a Wookiee entrepreneur named Ralbach, which in the Shiri Wook means lover of treasure. He betrayed his people because of his love for business over his heritage. He currently finds himself involved with this criminal enterprise and is trying to figure out what the Wookiee Liberation Front is doing, coming after him and his comrade Ralbach, our Rawatha.
Okay, thank you very much. So we begin pretty much where we left off last time. So, Tycho, you're stood in this room of the Golden Leku, this glitzy, glamorous station hotel. As you're stood in there, you're stood over the body of this beautiful and very dead Twi'lek woman. There's a large, black, angry-looking blaster burn on her chest. She's lying back in this reclining chair. You've just deactivated the data pad that was emitting this alarm and had like the cartoon of your friend Birdo going on the screen. And just as you've turned the alarm off, you've heard this boom, 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 boom on the door, and you hear the angry voice of the Twi'lek bouncer you recognise from when you met outside the hotel saying, "Open up! Let me in!"
Oh boy. So there's like no one else shouting other than
not
this
as far
one
as
guy.
you can hear.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna, I'll just do like, just a minute, and I'll try and push the chair against the door.
Okay,
so
make me a deception roll, difficulty 3.
I'm kind of good at this though. Let's see. Difficulty 3. And yeah. 2 successes.
Okay, the voice sounds slightly mollified, but then says, "But back away from the door, ma'am. We're coming in."
Oh shit.
And you hear like footsteps moving away from the door.
Fuck. Yeah. So I wanna. Well, the chair was kind of massive. Can I even move it?
Yeah, it's on wheels. It's just like an office chair.
Oh yeah. Then I want to try with the corpse and all. I want to try and jam it under like if there's like a handle.
Yep. Not a problem. You jam it under there. You don't know how long it's gonna, how much time it's gonna buy you. And a few short seconds afterwards, the door goes. Poof. There's like someone obviously impacts with their shoulder on the other side of it as this huge muscular Twi'lek bodyguard is trying to like, shoulder barge his way through the door.
And as I stand back looking for the air vent, I presume there's one here, some kind.
Okay. In fact, as you're looking around, you hear a voice going, "Psst, hey, hey."
And I go for my gun, but it's on the table where I left it last time. I was looking around, quite terrified that actually someone is in here with me.
Okay, as you look around, you actually see like a vent high up on the wall, and the voice appears to be coming from that. You can just about make out, like, in the darkness of like the ventilation tunnel beyond it, a small figure hunched, presumably with its face close to the grill. And again, you hear the voice going, "Hey, over here."
Yeah, I approach immediately.
Okay, as you move a bit closer, you can see this face pressed up against the other side of the grill, and you recognise Saran, the young boy that Ralbach seemed to be quite so taken with, and seemed to be intent on moulding into some sort of spy master extreme. And he's like, quick, get this grate off, and you can squeeze in here with me, and I'll get you out of here.
Right, and I go back. I snatch the pistol, put it in my pocket, take out what appears to be like a glue gun from my kit. It's not glue. It's actually I forget what it was called. Let me quickly check. It is quick flash burning gel. So I quickly dab it on. I presume there's like screws holding up the grill. So I just dab a little bit of the burning gel on the screws in the corners and just let it sizzle.
Yeah, you stand back and there's a satisfying and you see a few wisps of smoke coming up from the screws on the grill where you've dabbed it in. A few moments later there's a dunk as this grill just drops to the ground, and you can see this. Yeah. This it's going to be quite a squeeze. It's a fairly small ventilation tunnel.
Yeah. So in I go, and I presume that's coordination. At least coordination talks about
it's fine. Ducts. I'm not going to make you make a roll to like squeeze into an air vent. You sort of climb up and squeeze yourself in, but you're sort of having to move like hand over hand like that to sort of crawl along it. You can see Saran, who's obviously much skinnier and much smaller than you, being like a small urchin. He's not having quite as much difficulty. You can see he's sort of going like that and crawling along in front of you, and he's leading you through this like bewildering array of air vents. Eventually the air vents open up into like much larger tunnels, and you think from your knowledge of the station that perhaps you've moved from the hotel's air vents into like the main air vents that service the rest of the station.
Are these like the kind of like big cylindrical like turbine danger zones?
They are indeed. As you crawl down these passageways, these tunnels, every now and again you move over like a circle of light, and you can hear above you this woof, 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 and you see the shadows of these huge fans circulating air through Quen Station. Every now and again Saran looks back and he's like, quick, follow me. And you can see him like down the tunnel.
I do my best to keep up with him because he's smaller and much quicker than I am, I presume, because he's much well suited to crawling around here.
Indeed, he is very much so. Okay, can you make me an education roll? Difficulty 2.
Difficulty. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, you've got a bit turned around as you're heading through these air vents, which is understandable because they're all fairly indistinguishable from each other. Aside from when you move into the main air vents, you notice that you're not having to crawl and squeeze yourself quite so much now. You don't really know where you're going, and you think you're sort of moving higher up in the station. So you're quite surprised when you see Saran up ahead of you. You see him pushing on something, you hear a familiar dunk as though he's pushed out on one of these air vents. He wriggles through this small space and drops out of sight. And you hear his voice from somewhere just over the lip of this air vent that he's dropped out. Go, come on, this way.
What is this place? I try to shout whisper to him as I squeeze my larger body out the
As you squeeze your way out, you see you appear to be in a sort of a disused sort of part of the station. It looks fairly decrepit. There's bits of wire sparking hanging from the ceiling. There's tubes everywhere, old mechanical parts and crates lying around. As you drop down, you see Saran sort of crouched by the wall, and he says, "Oh, it's the lower part of the station, grey sector." One thing does strike you as odd, though, Tycho, is you're sort of looking around and you're taking in your surroundings. You can see that over on one of these crates that's by the far wall is what appears to be a chessboard. Now, you may or may not recognise chess as an old Coruscant game that sort of spread throughout much of the core world, certainly. In fact, maybe an education roll, difficulty 1, to see what you do know about chess.
Oh, I'm actually a champion.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a good way of keeping the mind sharp. And obviously, as someone in your game, you have to have quick reactions and tactical thinking. So yeah, you've probably played a few games of chess before. You probably played like hollow chess rather than this is like a proper old school chess set with physical pieces. You know, it's normally a game between sort of two players. One player plays the white pieces, one player plays the black pieces. The reason this chessboard strikes you as odd is you've got all these white pieces, you know, the bishops, the knights, the pawns, etc. Then you've got the black pieces on the other side. However, in the middle of the board is a third set of pieces which are coloured grey.
I'm going to approach this bizarre layout of pieces as I bring up the station map from my my communication device and start to chart the route from here to the dock that we landed our ship on.
Yeah,
and sort of like side-eye the chessboard.
Yeah, as you walk over, you've got the route now that it's not going to be too difficult for you to get to the docks from here. You'll have to go up several levels, but it shouldn't be a problem. As you move close to this chessboard, you see it's very much as I've described. 3 sets of pieces, one white, one black, one grey. And on the wall behind it, someone has spray painted what appears to be a crude representation of like a black crown.
I turn over my shoulder to Sharan. Is this a gang sign, gang territory, something like that?
He leans in a bit closer to you and he gives you like a conspiratorial wink, sort of holding his hand to his lips. And then he says, well, don't tell anyone, but this is where the Beggar King hangs out.
The what now?
The Beggar King, he pretty much runs this like part of the station. And anything that goes on down in the lower levels, he's got his fingers in it.
Is he an amicable fellow?
Well, yeah, I've always thought he was all right.
Right then. If you see any of his lackeys, do feel free to point them out as we head towards the dock, where I will take you to your, well, I suppose our friends.
He nods and he starts leading you out of this sort of old, decrepit bay that you're in. As you're heading towards it, you see by the door what you'd first taken to be a sort of pile of rags and other detritus actually appears to be like a figure lying on the ground, sort of like wrapped up in like an old tattered blanket. There's a chipped cup on the ground next to it with like a couple of credits in it. As you sort of move closer to this figure, you see this hand wearing a sort of tattered glove come out, pick up this cup and just sort of like shake it in your direction.
What's the... I don't remember how they talk about credits in the book, but I know that they are in physical and electronic form.
That's correct.
Am I right? Yeah. So I feel like Tycho is the type of person who would only have electronic credits.
Makes sense in your line of business.
Yeah. So I as I realized that it's actually a person and it's alive to boot, I sort of like startle a bit and withdraw my foot that was going to like step on the hand and it's like, I didn't realize. And then I pat my pockets, realizing I don't have physical credits. So
the hand shakes the cup at you again.
Yeah, I slowly take out the blaster pistol that I that I have, and I just very awkwardly just put it in the cup.
The figure, sort of still covered in this ragged patchwork blanket that seems to have been repaired many times, shifts around into a sitting position. The robe's still sort of like pulled around its head so you can't really see any features. And then a voice from underneath it says, "Oh, good, Saran. I see you've bought one of them here." At which point Saran says, "Yeah. Just like you asked me to."
I'm reaching for the blaster pistol. I'm just reaching slowly to take it back.
The figure does nothing to stop you.
Yeah, I retrieve it and give Saran like the daggers.
He goes, "What?" The ragged, cloaked figure extends one of its hands and points it to the chessboard and then says, "Do you play?"
I do. Chess, yes. I do.
Do you have time for a game?
And I lean back, and using my cybernetics, I do a quick calculation of how small we can make the turn timer in order to still like actually have even a semblance of a reasonable game and allow for some strategy. And I'm just pulling some figures out of my ass, but I'm like, okay, well, let's say 4.5-second turn timer. I would have the schedule for that.
Very good, says this figure, and he stands up, the sheet, the robe falling back off his head, and you see an elderly human man. He has a sort of whitish, stubbly beard. He's got a very deeply lined face, very sort of hard, worn face. He walks over to where this crate is and sits down on one side of the chessboard and gestures at the other side of it to you.
All right then. So what is the third color?
He smiles and then says, "Very perceptive of you. In any conflict, there's always one side that claims to be acting for the light," and he spins the board around so like the white pieces are facing towards you. "And there's another side that claim to be acting for the dark or for their own interest," and again he spins the board around so the black pieces are facing at you. And then he just sort of holds his hand over the board and he says, "And who speaks for those people who are in the middle? The grey pieces?"
Well, usually nobody, unless they have money.
He smiles and says, "Very good. Thank you for the game. I'm sure we'll speak more in the future, Tycho Madar, but let me just tell you for the moment that the current endeavour that you are on may be more important than any of you yet know. I'm sure we'll talk more when you get back. Young Saran here will show you out and take you to your ship."
I presume I won't have any trouble with any of your boys?
You will face no trouble from me. The only trouble people find when dealing with people who pledge their allegiance to me is the trouble that they bring with them.
Well then, Saran, it looks like we are still going.
Saran says, "Oh, right, yes, I'll take you to your ship. Follow me." And as you're walking out, you just hear the voice of the Beggar King floats out after you, and he says, "Be careful what darkness and light you take to the planet with you, Tycho."
I stop like in the doorway, and there's a close-up of Tycho's face, and he just rolls his eyes really hard. And I turn back a bit and say, "I thank you for this advice, good Beggar King, and I would like to repay your kindness with an actual game of chess when we return from our endeavors.
As you turn around and you say this and you look in the room, you see the Beggar King is no longer sat by the chessboard, and that both the white pieces and the black pieces have been removed from the board.
I slam the door as quick as I can and just belt down the hall.
Okay, so Saran, good as his word, leads you through the bewildering array of corridors and chambers in Quen Station until eventually you find yourself in the docking bay where your ship, the Oculus Tenebris, now gleaming and resplendent and fully repaired, is sitting in the dock.
Right. When I was having a chat with the maintenance droid node, the command node, we had a deal where I could have one security droid and one maintenance droid access code, essentially.
Entirely correct.
Yeah, so...
And in fact, since you arranged that deal, I'm going to say that as you arrive in the maintenance bay, you can actually see that there is a security droid and one of these G2 maintenance droids sort of almost at just to one side of like the ramp up onto your ship, just apparently sort of waiting there.
Yeah. I was going to pull up like some random droids from down the hall and just like, oh. And then just like look at the nearest security camera and like mouth like thank you, and motion for the droids to start boarding as I call to the ship.
The security droid is just like affirmative, whereas the maintenance droid is like, would you like me to follow you on board the ship, sir?
Please disable your vocalizer unit.
Very well, sir. I'm disabling my vocabulary
now. Yeah, and I do a call to the ship to let them know that I'm boarding with some droids and Saran.
Well, okay, so you go through the comms. Obviously, Link and Ralbak, you're on board the ship. So what do you say to them as you come through on their comms, Tycho?
Right, so... okay, I can see some of you are on board, hopefully all of us. It's Tycho, obviously, coming in with 2 droid units, one armed, one not so much, and Saran. Not sure if you want him on board or not, but he's here for you to do as you will. Our level of heat is astounding on the station, so I would appreciate a quick exit. Please open the ramp.
Absolutely, and yes, please bring Saran. I really, really would like to talk to the boy.
Yeah, Saran's here.
Me as well. I think he finds me a bit more pleasant than you, personally.
You probably should be present. I need somebody to smooth over the transaction.
Okay. Well, you know me with money.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll open the door for him.
You open the door. Tycho heads up the ramp. He's followed by one of these small, spindly G2 maintenance droids and one of the station security droids. And sort of walking next to him, casting the odd slightly worried look at the security droid, is Saran.
My boy! Welcome back.
And I'll walk out around the
Alright.
corner too and just growl.
He sort of takes an involuntary half step backwards as you sort of step round and growl.
Don't worry, that's a happy greeting in their tongue.
Oh, yeah, all right. How's it going?
Very well. We're going to be leaving very shortly, but my friend here would like to talk with you just for a little while, and I'll help translate, since obviously Wookiees always sound terrifying, don't they?
All right, yeah, sure. What do you want to talk about?
At this point, I turn and say, would you like me to give any more details as of now, or?
And I'll smile at Link with this big Cheshirian grin, and the remote that Rolata has made me will just hover around the corner and come over to beside my head. Now, what I forget, John, what was the attitude of the remote?
The attitude of the grey remote that you are following, it's got an almost sort of like puppy-like sort of personality. It's very enthusiastic and eager to please.
And so I'll tell Link, still in Shuriwuk, I'll let the remote translate, but you'll probably need to do a little bit more translation. And I'll turn to the remote and I'll say, ask my little spy what information he has for me.
Yeah. I can do that. All right. Then, small human. He wants to know what information you've got for him. At which point, Saran sort of like raises an eyebrow, like looks a bit curiously at the remote, and he says, "Well, you want me to find information about who like runs things and what's going on the station? I've," and he gestures with his thumb at Tycho. So I've hooked up your friend here, good and proper. And he sort of like nudges you in like the knee with his elbow, Tycho, and he's like, "Tell him."
Yes. He's telling the truth. He was very useful. We should keep him around. I'm gonna go warm up the engine, and I'll leave.
I'll look at Link, because I think Link's kind of the chaperone of this kid. How much should I give him? I don't want to spoil the boy, but I want to make sure that he knows that this is a business transaction.
Sorry, was that to me or the droid?
Yeah, to you, Link.
All right. Okay, so Saran, you know what a transaction is, right?
Yeah, it's when you get money and stuff.
My friend wants to remind you that while he's going to be generous with you, he wants you to keep in mind that this is a transaction of business.
All right. You're not entirely sure he understood what you've just said to him, but he nods.
So what do you think, Link? 100 credits, 200 credits? What's fair?
I say 250.
250?
You can relate to 1,000 that way. All reverse psychology, you know.
So I'll walk forward a couple steps and hover over the boy and just cast my monolithic shadow and squint and reach down slowly into my pocket and pull out a 250 credit shit and hold it out to the boy. But I'll squeeze it tightly so when he tries to take it from my hand, there's an awkward moment where it's like a battle of will, and then I'll let it go.
He takes it off you and he sort of looks at it, and like you can see he's sort of like he's trying to like count it up, and then he's like, "Oh, that's loads of credits. That's I'll be able to live like a Twi'lek pimp for that."
I did not realise that was the career you wanted to go down.
Well, no, I don't want the job, but I'll be able to have like the fancy clothes, and I'll have to get myself somewhere nice to sleep.
Told you my friend was generous.
I'd like the remote. I'll turn the remote and I'll say, tell the boy that he is to come with us on a special mission.
The remote swivels around, so it's sort of ocular display. This lens is regarding Saran, and then it says, "Right, we're going on an adventure, and you're coming with us." The boy is like, "Where are you going to?"
Oh, I don't know. We're going to be searching for spatial anomalies.
The remote's like, "We're looking for some weird stuff in space." So, I'm not sure if finding information out of the station is one thing. I'm not sure if I like all this, like, zooming around space looking for weird stuff. That just sounds like it's asking for trouble.
Yes. But if you look for trouble, my young friend, that's where the money is.
Could
You say
could
you can buy fine clothes with those credits.
Okay,
I'm
Link,
sure you want more.
can you please make me a coercion roll?
Yep. Bear in
It's
mind, I'm not very good at coercion.
It's difficulty 2, however, one of them is red.
Okay. Oh, not too bad.
Okay, he's like, well, yeah, I can sort of see your point, and he sort of like looks at like this weighty like handful of credits he's holding, and he's like, yeah, all right, how long are we going to be gone for?
Should be absolutely no longer than 2 weeks. I'm hoping for it to be a week.
2 weeks?
Saran, this is space. Time is magnified.
He just sort of like
Sorry,
looks at you blankly. He's like,
everything in space is far away from each other. It takes a long time to get anywhere in space.
I'll at this point pull out another 250 credit chip and hold it out to the boy again.
he sort of like reaches out one of his little like hands for it.
And I'll tell the droid this time. Tell the boy it's hazard pay.
The recon probe turns around to him and it's like, all right, this money's in case you get like brutally killed or like horribly maimed or anything. The boy sort of like his hand like stops and he's like, what do you mean horribly maimed?
Oh, couldn't you program that thing to be a little more delicate? He is only a boy.
Damn it. Relotha's doing this. It's some kind of sick joke. I'll have a word with him. I'll have him reprogram this thing's personality.
Okay, I turn back to Saran and say, my friend is telling me that Relatha, the other Wookiee, had an issue with programming. It's a mistranslation. It's an exaggeration. There is a possibility we could have some problems out in space which could cause injuries, say if we had to crash or something. However, you'll be with us.
Crash?
We'll keep you safe.
All right, let's just be off and like get it done before you like start telling me any more like horrible things that could happen.
Absolutely.
Do you
And
by
just-
chance, Link, have a knife or anything you could give the boy?
I have many knives. I'll give him a nice special one.
He takes this like shiny knife off you, but he's like, "Oh, look how sharp that is!" And he sort of exaggeratedly goes,
Be careful with that. I wouldn't want you to get a cut or anything.
This is absolutely magical, Link. This is the best day of the boy's life. He's got employment. He's got an uncle that looks like a serial killer. We just gave the boy a knife. He's got credits to go to a brothel. Look at the work we're doing.
Good times. He swishes the knife around and he stops when you say, "Oh, you might cut yourself," as though the thought had never even occurred to him. And he tucks it in like his little belt and he sort of stands up a bit taller and he's like, all right then, let's get going.
Indeed, if you cut somebody with that, it's like cutting through cheese. It's a very sharp blade.
Oh, I love a bit of cheese.
All right, so I'm ready to go by this point, so I'd probably go and start things up.
As you're about to head off, Saran sort of like tugs on your trouser leg, the Link, and he's like, "Where are we going anyway?"
Can you just remind me the name of the system, please, John?
You were told that it was a rogue planet heading through the system that you're currently in.
It is a rogue planet heading through our system, so not too far afield.
Oh yeah, I've heard a bit about that. Some of the technicians, I heard them talking about it. They were saying they were doing something with the gravity shielding or something about some effects it might have if it gets too close to the station. I didn't really understand a lot of what they were talking about, to be honest. Something about making the
Interesting.
shielding better or powering it up or something like that.
And do you think that would cause a gravitational issue?
I don't know. That's what they said. I heard one of them complaining. He was saying that like they wanted to get it done earlier, but like there was some sort of like diagnostic or something going on that was like slowing them down.
You go and let Taika know exactly what you just told me. I'm going to get us started, if you don't mind.
All right, see you in a bit.
Well, I'm already there.
Fair enough.
I went while you were talking with Saran. I went to warm up the engine so we can go.
So Saran's gone to run off to like find Tycho. So we'll jump to Tycho. You're presumably in the pilot seat, Tycho.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reversing all the polarities and stuff.
The G2 droid and the security droid are originally sort of made to just follow you. Are they staying in the captain's cabin with you, or?
I think they'll be like in a hallway somewhere.
Okay, yeah, no
Just
problem.
like on standby.
Yep, you've left them in the sort of entranceway.
Yeah.
A few minutes after the doors hiss open to the cabin, and Saran with his like little knife tucked in his belt comes running in, and he's like, "Oh, all right. Link asked me to come and tell you that I heard some of the technicians talking. They were saying that this rogue planet they're trying to increase the gravity shielding or something on the station, but some diagnostics been slowing them down. Something about the planet having some effects if it comes too close to the station or something like that. I didn't really understand a lot of it. It was all a bit technical."
Right. Well, that's quite dangerous sounding all together. Not sure what we can do about it though. So strap in, because we're gonna leave now.
He climbs into like the co-pilot's seat, which is obviously comically oversized for him, and he straps himself, and then he's like, "What's this button do here?"
Yeah, don't do that.
What about this little lever here? What's that do?
I'm gonna give him a hydro spanner. Just like you play with that.
He's like sat there with his hydro spanner, though.
And I'm gonna call up Link on the shipboard comms. Like, Link is. I presume you've had a chance to look around. I'm gonna start lifting off soon. So is the engine okay?
I assume it is okay. Obviously, I'm taking a look. How's it doing, John?
The engine seems absolutely fine. Due to the extra work you got the scientists to put in, and this priority 1 work order that you had for repairing your ship, it now appears to be pretty much in fully working order.
Clean as a whistle back here. She's good to go.
Great.
Tycho,
Hmm?
would it be possible for us to drop these dead bodies when we're exiting?
We can deposit trash. Yes.
Excellent. I'll start rounding them up.
Yep. Yeah. So, well, I guess first things first. Do we have clearance to actually leave, John?
Okay, so you're requesting clearance from like the landing tower, effectively.
Yeah.
You hear a voice say, "Oculus Tenebris, this is Quen Station landing tower. You are cleared to depart."
Thanks, landing tower. It's been a good one.
Understood. We hope to see you soon, Captain Wasiri.
Yes. Very good. I close that link and get Link on the comms. Link, I just maybe you should. The gun controls are still in the back on the computer. Maybe you should be there, just in case.
Just in case. Okay. Give me a shout if you see anything coming from your side.
Mm-hmm.
As you sat there, Tycho, Saran looks around at you and he's like, "Oh, it's a bit warm in here. Oh."
Yeah. Space. You're gonna love it, kid. And we start the lift up.
Indeed, your ship lifts up using your manoeuvring thrusters. The landing legs are retracted with a as they settle into their moorings inside the bottom of the vessel. Then the thrusters at the back of the ship fire and slowly you begin to manoeuvre out the translucent blue force screen that keeps the atmosphere in the landing bay but allows ships to go out. Passes over you almost like a shimmering water on a waterfall as you move through it into the inky expanse of space beyond. As you look sort of at your readout, Tycho, you can see Quen Station slowly retreating away from you as you leave through the launch bay.
Right. I'm gonna call you guys up again. So, do we have like trajectories or other data for this rogue planet so that we can position ourselves? Maybe like drift simultaneously.
That seems okay to me.
And it was scheduled to arrive in the system in some days.
You know that it was passing through the sector for like the next 2 days. After 2 days has passed sort of from now, it'll be outside of this sector, so it'll be more of a ball lake to get to and sort of plot its trajectory. But at the minute it's passing through the sort of far reaches of this sector.
Right. Okay, I guess we'll do some calculations then. I'll probably call in, because Link, you would be known as another person who is capable of piloting, right?
I know a little bit about piloting, yes.
Yeah, so maybe there's a shot of the two of us doing the calculations to actually manage to catch this. Because if it's moving very fast through a system, it's moving quite fast indeed. So yeah, maybe we'll do it together just to make sure.
I see what you're saying, but I can't exactly do it from where I am now. And you hear him like get off the turret and come back to you.
Okay, you guys are also moving sort of fairly quickly. You're under like thrusters, but it still shifts your ship along at a rapid pace. Quen Station has disappeared to what's almost just like a point of light behind you now. As you're moving along, Tycho, you notice the red light of the comms signalling that you have an incoming signal.
Yeah, I do a bit of preparation because the comms tower, well, the landing tower just reminded me that I was actually trying to be expository, and I had forgotten. So,
okay, so
yeah.
Whilst you're doing your prep, Link, you're on sort of weapons control. You're sort of moving around. Can you make me a computer's roll?
Again, not my strong point.
One of them is red though.
Oh.
Sorry, re-roll it.
Oh, I'm quite glad I re-rolled it.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So as you're sort of just getting ready to like leave the turret to go and like help out, you obviously the gun turrets are equipped with sensors so you can track targets, etc. You notice 3 small vessels, sort of like fighter craft silhouettes, approaching your position on an intercept course. Okay,
what kind of direction are they coming from?
They appear to be coming from the direction of Quen Station.
Tycho, I think there are some ships that are actually following us right now. They're only tiny, though. I can take them if you want.
Yeah, just wait a minute. I think they're calling us. Well, hailing us, anyway. And I'm going to take the call.
Okay, so while this is going on, what's Ralbak up to?
He's going to be crudely trying to manage the engine room. It's not his forte, but after he has the bodies rounded up, that's the best he's going to muster, I think.
Okay, so I imagine we cut momentarily for, or perhaps to one of those scenes where the screen sort of splits into three. We see Link sort of on the comms and looking at this display of these fighters, saying, "Oh, I can take them. They're small ships, no problem." You've got Tycho on the comms going, "Oh, I think they're trying to call us." Then we've got like another little sort of tableau of Ralbak and Tin Man sort of stood in the engine room with Tin Man going, "No, it's that one, sir. No, that wire, sir. No, the hydro spanner is not an all-purpose solution, sir." Okay, so back to you, Tycho.
Right, so I press the accept button and go, "This is Captain Dexter Siri of the Imperial Science Vessel. I, as a player, forget the name, so Oculus Tenebris, there we go.
Indeed.
Of the, by the name of Oculus Tenebris. Who is this?
Okay.
Identify yourself."
You hear a voice speaking on the comm link, which is obviously speaking a Rhodian dialect, which, as we've established, you understand for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
You recognise the voice is not. It's not Birdo. You hear a voice saying, "This is Mern Bro of the craft Eviscerator. We have a proposition for you, Captain Dax Woseri. We would like to come aboard your vessel and discuss it."
If you have something of value to offer to the Empire, I suggest you put all of your cards on the table immediately.
Very well. Let me just say that myself and my two colleagues, until recently, were in the employ of a rather renowned bounty hunter by the name of Sask. I believe some of your colleagues have already made his acquaintance. He's a rather large and, shall we say, surly Trandoshan. Unfortunately, he's been unavoidably detained, which leaves us a man short for the job that we have in mind. We're looking to replace him.
There should be all manner of non-human trash on Quen Station for you to recruit.
Ah, very true, very true. However, not all of them are capable of masquerading so effectively as an Imperial commander.
I put this on a hold. And I'm gonna get Link and Ralbak on the line. You go. Right. The people following us, Rhodians, apparently, a crew working with the Trandoshan that they said got detained on Quen Station, and now they're looking for a replacement. And for some reason, they know who I am. Do you know Trandoshans? What happened?
This wasn't the Trandoshan that Diane Rawatha messed up in the market district.
There was.
Now, you do remember that when you sort of came out and you were masquerading as a sort of maintenance man, Tycho, that you were told there'd been a fracas between some Wookiees and a Trandoshan, and you saw the Trandoshan being like pushed into the lift by a couple of security droids, and he didn't understand what he was saying, but it was quite clear from his language and tone that he wasn't very happy about it.
Right. Suggestions? They want to parlay, so there is an opportunity for Well, I presume cooperation of some kind, and perhaps even credits, and a lot of betrayal, of course. But
I hear the Rhodians can have a very general meaning of what they actually want.
oh yes, I have some personal experience with Rhodians.
At this point, as obviously Tycho is relating this conversation he's had to you all, any of you who are skilled in Underworld, so I have yellow dice in it, can make an Underworld roll at difficulty 2.
2 advantages.
I will use my bot info talent and spend 100 credits and succeed with 1 success.
Splendid. Okay, so both yourself, Ralbak, and Link, you actually have you've heard vague rumours of this Rhodian, this Mern bro. He's quite a sort of renowned bounty hunter / pirate. Most of his work is above board collecting bounties, but when times are hard, he's not averse to turning his hand to other things to make a profit, let's say. Whereas you've heard a little bit more about him through your various contacts, Ralbak. You know that although Mernbro is a sort of fairly merciless bounty hunter and pirate, he has his own strict code of honour. Part of the reason he's so successful as a bounty hunter is because once he's taken a contract, he sticks to that contract. It's like a point of pride with him that he follows through and has honesty. Once he's agreed to something, he sticks to it. That's how he's built his professional reputation.
Well, I have heard of this this Rhodian, at least I think, fellow Lomern bro. Honorable, from what I hear, costs a lot of money to get him, and he always follows through on his contracts. I don't think he's the type that would lie to treat with us.
So,
on the other hand, I've heard that he can kill people about as quick as Link can, so I might take the call from another room.
yes, I'm not about to invite him over. But I'll see what he has to say, and I'll get him back on the comms. So you obviously have us as somewhat of an advantage, my Rhodian friend. What is your proposition?
Well, myself and my 2 colleagues, we've secured the whereabouts of a lightly guarded Imperial medical frigate. And at no small expense, we've managed to procure their flight plan and their current location. However, if we were to approach in our smaller vessels, they would recognize us, they would seek to flee the area. Now, if we had someone who could successfully masquerade as an Imperial captain to lull them into a false sense of security, then the frigate and the precious Bacta that is transporting could be ours for the taking. I'm not sure if you're aware of how much Bacta sells for on the black market, but let me tell you, it's a lot of credits, more credits than you can imagine.
Yes, yes. The Empire is always interested in credits, and we are as well. And where did you say this frigate was located at?
Please, I'm not naive enough to give you the location over an open comlink. However, myself and my colleagues are travelling to intercept this frigate now. If you slave your systems to ours, we can lead you there. Once we arrive, we will fall into formation behind your vessels, masquerading as escorts, and then that frigate and its sweet, expensive Bacta will be ours for the taking.
John, what would be my estimation of being able to put in a Trojan into the switch where if I slave the systems to their systems, that I would actually have the possibility of slaving their systems instead.
It would be quite difficult. I'm not saying you can't do it. It would be fairly difficult. Certainly doing it without it being noticeable would be quite difficult. Not impossible, but it would be very difficult.
Like, what are we talking? Like 3 red, or
We're talking like difficulty 3.
difficulty 3, right? Yeah, we're going to do that. So, yeah, Tycho pulls his cord from the back of his head, from his cybernetics, and plugs it in. And
you hear Saran next to you go, "Ugh."
I'm like, shush, you will get your own one day. And
not likely.
And yeah, he pulls out some of his slicer kit and starts working. And I let the Rhodians know. I'll just send them like a binary signal that just says like holding, transferring system slave data or something like that, and then start working my magic. So difficulty 3.
One of those is red.
Right. And let's see. Since code breaking is involved, would my code breaker difficulty decrease thing be relevant here?
Yeah, so that would just reduce it down to 3 purple.
Yeah, right. And right, so my implanted cyberjack allows me to take 2 stress to decrease the difficulty by 1 as well.
Does that reduce it to 1 purple?
1 purple.
Yep.
Right, and then computers, yeah. 2 successes, 2 advantage.
Yeah, you send across this binary signal, effectively pinging off their system to say, yeah, we're now slave to your systems, good to go. However, hidden under that code, you've implanted a Trojan which allows you to, effectively with the tap of a few buttons or the flick of a switch, flip the slave circuit around so to slave their 3 fighters to your vessel.
Yeah. And I'll put the voice comms on again. Like, this is Captain Dax Vasiri again. I'm being told by my pilot that we have completed the transfer of control. Please do lead on.
Received and understood. Your ship falling in behind these 3 fighter craft, you head towards further towards the outskirts of the system, heading into an area that's sparsely populated with space, rubble, asteroids, etc. The fighters weave effortlessly in and out of these asteroids until eventually, as you crest a particularly large asteroid, you see what appear to be 3 large, like metallic rings, slightly bigger than these starfighters, floating behind this asteroid. As you watch the 3 fighters line up, and effectively one of them attaches to each of these rings. As someone who's been around spaceships a lot, Tycho, you probably recognise these as like supplemental, like hyperdrives, since normally starfighters don't have their own hyperdrives. So they link up to these to give them hyperdrive capability. You hear the Rhodian over the comm again say, "Engaging hyperdrive now." At which point there's the stomach churning lurch as your ships judder into hyperspace and your ships vanish off. You see the stars streak out past the Oculus Tenebris, blurring past you bewilderingly until after what seems probably like you've probably got about an hour in hyperspace. Is there anything particularly you guys want to do whilst you're passing this hour?
I'm at the very least gonna let them, well, like my companions, know that, yeah, we're going along with this, and they think they have control, but actually we do.
What makes you think that? Are you just going on hope, or have you done something to their systems?
Yes. I stole their systems, all of them, actually.
Impressive.
It was quite surprising, actually, because I was, well, I won't bore you with the computer details.
No, even with half of this Bacta, given that there's a few tanks of it, I could probably make us a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah, I'm certainly on board with that.
Maybe
I could have 10-man run some numbers.
Numbers are good. Numbers are good.
maybe we should also plot some coordinates in case we need to make a very quick exit.
Definitely yes, because it could be that our honor-bound bounty hunter has forsaken said honor, and we're actually jumping into an ambush. But as I said, I have control of their ships, so we will have our exits covered if that happens.
Fantastic.
But yes, that's very. Either way, you should prepare. If the frigate is there and real, we'll likely have to get close, I imagine. And maybe even board. What is your position on whether or not we will keep our end of the deal? We could always just take all of the Bacta. If Rollback here says it's valuable, then that is an option for us. Just take all of it. I presume that this Rhodian wants some.
I'm going to say that with your knowledge, Ralback, you would estimate that conservatively the sort of like the recommended retail price of a tank of Bacta is 4,000 credits, and that's if you're buying it at wholesale.
Okay, so I'll say 10-man is giving me a readout. He says that from the Thyphira shareholders account, they're recommending 4,000 per tank at resale. Now, if we're going to be selling the second-hand black market, we're going to be looking at probably taking a 15% to 20% hit, but we're going to clear a lot. So I would say if he puts himself in a position where we can take Muambro out with little expense to ourselves, business dictates we do so.
It is quite literally a few buttons away, his death, I mean.
He's a bounty hunter. I mean, he does this type of shit for a living to other people, so I don't have a great moral quandary.
Morals are... Yes, it's it's just sort of like ruffle Saran's hair. It'd be like it's a thing for children.
He's like, get off.
So, what do we think this Dark Star is? If it's supposed to be on a wrecked ship? What do you think, Link? This was your friend.
Yes, I know, but I'm not really sure what to think. I want to know what it is when I get there.
But if it's on a ship, then it can't really be that big.
I'm hoping not, no. But then it depends how big the ship is.
Did they make them quite that big back in the day? I mean, now you have these Star Destroyers.
I've only been in this galaxy for 39 years. I don't know the full details of what they used to make back in the day, if you're talking about the Republic.
I'm sure they make something of that size. I think the old primitive arc ships use some kind of cryo sleep technology. So we're talking lots of real estate.
Well, if they use cryo, then someone might even still be there. If there's something as supposedly valuable as this dark star and it's intact, then
Oh, perhaps an extinct alien species frozen and preserved. Sounds valuable.
There's a museum or two and several huts that I know from personal experience who would be interested.
I hear some huts pay for exotic beasts by the pound.
Anyway, let's not get our hopes up too high. We don't even know what it is yet.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm going to be fairly disappointed if it's just a different kind of torpedo.
So you have these discussions, and after about an hour has passed, there's the as you all leave hyperspace, and this is where we're going to do our tide change for this evening's game. So the tide change, for anyone who's watching who isn't aware, is where I get the players to suggest a plot twist. They are then voted on in the Tides of Change Facebook group. There'll be a link in this video to there, and whichever one or ones gets the most vote is the plot twist we use in the game after we come back in after a short recess. So the tide change for you guys is going to be, as you exit hyperspace, your ship slaved temporarily to these 3 mercenary Z-95 headhunter fighters. What do you see when you first emerge from hyperspace? So I'm going to go. I'll go for. Since you led them on this madcap adventure, Tycho, how about yourself?
The first thing.
Yeah, what sight meets your eyes as you exit hyperspace?
Oh boy. I think it's the medical frigate that is it's stationed next to a mining colony that is in an asteroid field, and as we get the poop and we pop out, we immediately just get like a rain, like a shower of hail on the cockpit windows of very small asteroid bits, and and the frigate is there, but yeah, we warped right into an asteroid field.
Okay, splendid. So how about yourself, Ralback?
We come out of hyperspace and see the frigate that we're after crippled by a solar storm and being attacked by large stingray-looking creatures that feed off of energy.
Nice. Let's write that down. Okay, and how about yourself, Link?
Okay, well, since Johannes pretty much nicked my idea, I'm going to go with the fact that the frigate is being attacked by a large group of ships that found it before we did.
Okay, splendid. So we'll have a short sort of 10-15 minute break. I'll get that posted in the Tides of Change group. When you guys come back and you're ready to go, just switch your cameras back on, and once we're all assembled, we'll carry on with the game. So I'll catch you shortly, guys.
Righto.
Splendid.
I like how this is very slowly turning into like 2.5 men in space and a Wookiee.
That's it. Well, we have got the two Wookiees who are sort of like the odd couple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just press the voting is closed. And just to give you some idea, the ship picture that I've got up is the fighter craft that the 3 bounty hunters are in.
Right. I still can't see anything from the poll that you post. I can't see any votes on it until like tomorrow sometime.
Well, I'll tell you that when I last checked it before I closed the voting, there were 2 votes for the giant space stingray and 4 votes for the attack by pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone loves space pirates, what's not to love?
Yeah. Pirates and stingrays. I mean, maybe we should be playing your like Storm and Sail
That's it.
game instead.
Okay. Right, let's wait for Andrew to get back and then we'll crack back on.
There appears to be a tie, though.
Oh, is there? Has it updated?
Well, no, there's one. Well, there's Johannes if you want to count Johannes' vote, and then there's somebody else. Oh no, I beg your pardon. It's just telling me that +1 people have voted when actually I've just realised there are more. My bad. Facebook is lying to me.
It is a bit weird how it like displays these things. Sometimes it doesn't update in time. I just tend not to worry about it. I go with whatever I can see on my computer, and like, if that's not right, I just think, wow, you know, it's not the end of the world, is it? I was just saying to Johannes, the ship picture that I've put up there is the sort of fighter craft that the 3 bounty hunters accompanying you are in. The Z-95 Headhunter, as it's known. Okay, so since we have everyone back, you emerge out of hyperspace. So what was that, Andrew? Let me just have a quick look. Okay, yeah, no problems. Cheers for letting me know. Okay, you emerge from hyperspace into what appears to be a pitched space battle. Immediately as you emerge, the ship is rocked from side to side as barrages of turbo laser fire are just filling this area. You can see this, what you assume to be this medical frigate, this ship that's like, it's roughly the size of a medium-sized freighter. You can see that a large, what looks to be sort of capital-sized gunship is approaching it rapidly. The area around the gunship is filled with fighters, a lot of which are weaving in and out, opening fire on this medical frigate. And that is what you guys see. As is the case with with all Star Wars films. As soon as you emerge from hyperspace, there's the and the ship's like rocking backwards and forwards. Tycho, you're being like thrown about in your seat. You hear Saran going, "Oh Jesus!" As he's trying to cling onto his seat and like shrink even further into it.
Right, I'm off to the guns.
Okay, yeah. As you say,
let's get
Ralback,
ready to
you and Tin
rumble.
Man are thrown about in the bay that you're in. Tycho, you're in the driving seat. It looks to you as though some sort of large gunship. Do you have any particular knowledge about ships that would enable you to identify it?
I mean, I am a pilot, so a definite maybe.
Okay, I'm going to say that any of you who wish to make me a piloting space roll can do so in order to see if you recognise it. Obviously not its specific identity, but the type of ship it is. The difficulty is 2.
Could I perhaps do that check, John, using the scanner just to get like a hull type?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll say you can do that using your computer's roll. Okay, so roll back, and have you made your roll back? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so roll back. The only thing you really know is like it's some sort of capital-sized gunship. Link, as you're looking at it, you know that it's a Marauder-class assault corvette. It's a very old ship that's been around since like the Old Republic, but it was always like a very sturdy sort of gunship. And when the Old Republic fell, a lot of them either sort of fell into independent hands or were retrofitted. Tycho, you also know it's some sort of assault corvette, but you don't really know a lot of the details that Link's been able to sort of gather. But you know it's a big sort of capital gunship, effectively. You can see these batteries of turbo lasers on it, sort of basically firing like warning shots across the medical frigate's bow. The medical frigate, obviously from its sort of trajectory, has been trying to outmaneuver this ship and get away from it. You can see it's trying to like maneuver into what appears to be an asteroid field, but it's not having much luck because pretty much this assault corvette's just like rolling forward like very slowly, but it's not stopping. Any like asteroids are getting here, just like either bounce off the hull or they're just destroyed by these turbo laser batteries.
What sort of you go.
Just to like get the image right, John, it would appear to us then like they're trying to destroy the Corvette rather than cripple it or take it. Or not the Corvette, but the frigate.
It looks as though the Corvette, the assault gunship, is actually sort of firing warning shots. But as I said, you can see that the area between it and the medical frigate is full of these smaller fighter craft that you might assume have been launched from the Corvette. So it looks as though it's basically firing a warning shot saying, don't resist or we'll just destroy you, and then it sent the fighter craft out to do the dirty work.
Okay, so we don't see like tractor beams or anything like that, though?
You don't know.
Okay.
You can see that from what you can see from like the scanners and the readouts you're looking at, that this Corvette appears to be, although it looks fairly sturdy, it's sort of a workhorse style ship, it looks as though it's fairly old. You're not even sure if ships this old had tractor beams fitted on them.
Yeah, so I would give that assessment over the scanner, or over the comm. I've performed a rudimentary scan. It doesn't look like the machine has a tractor beam, which means it's going to be difficult to take unless they cripple it ionically.
Yes, I imagine they will probably board, because it's a medical frigate. Their security is bound to be light.
As you're saying this, you notice a light wink on your system telling you that your ship is no longer slaved to the three smaller vessels.
They better run for it.
Yeah, what's going on with those? Yeah, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna hail them.
Okay, you get a slightly panicked and like annoyed, like Rhodian voice on the comm system going, "Yes, what is it?"
This is Captain Dax Siri demanding a report on the situation.
Now, let me see, says this voice with exaggerated cordiality. It is my expert opinion in my many long years as a master of the Bounty Hunters Guild, and according to the scans that I'm getting through from my very expensive computer system over here in my fighter craft, if I had to make a guess in my expert opinion, I would say that the medical frigate is under attack from a fucking huge gunship.
And so, what is your plan going forward?
If you're asking me whether, with your ship and 3 small fighters, I think we can take on a large capital-sized ship, I would say, no, of course we can't. The very idea is preposterous.
But if I wasn't asking that, then what would you say?
Well, it would depend on what you were asking me.
I suppose I am asking you if these are your associates, at least at some remove. Do you know who these are?
If I had to hazard a guess, I would say that we're obviously not the only ones who've managed to procure the route for this medical frigate, and someone else has decided they want that Bacta for themselves. Someone who has resources far outstripping my own.
So what's to be done? You're in the lead here. Lead, good man.
Well, if I had to come up with a plan, I'd suggest, and suddenly the comlink switches off, and you see 3 fighters go and disappear into hyperspace.
We're not leaving. We can't.
Oh, well, that's that then. I suppose we're gonna make some friends, and I'm gonna start hailing the Corvette.
Okay, you hail the Corvette, and after a few moments, a sort of gruff voice comes on the system and says, "Slika Naspiral."
It's just like my face just goes, it's just not my day.
Are you putting this through to the rest of your crew, or are you just like taking it on?
Yeah, it's just Tycho just in silence in the cockpit, well, just like losing hope in today.
Is that over the speakers, Tycho?
I think so. Yeah.
I would turn to Tin Man immediately and say, Tin Man, what language group is that? Is that Trandoshans, Luisi?
I believe so, sir.
Shit. And that's on an open mic. That's just like going back to the cockpit.
Hello, I sent back to the Corvette.
Whilst this conversation going on, Tin Man leans over to you and with a slightly sort of quieter voice says, "I don't mean to alarm you, sir, but that initial conversation, I'm translating loosely here. Trandoshan is a very brutal and imprecise language. However, I believe that was in order to stand down and surrender our vessel."
Okay, Tin Man, can you interface over the comm and translate for the captain? Tycho, I'm referring to.
Yes, of course, translation is my secondary function, aside from legal protocol, of course.
Well, that might come in handy after the negotiation.
Very good, sir. At which point, Tin Man comes on the main comms and says, "We've identified the dialect as Trandoshan, Captain. My lord and master has asked me to translate for you. The initial communication was an order for us to stand down and prepare to surrender our vessel."
Damn lizard man.
Tin Man, please send them a very grammatically horrendous message saying something to the effect of, please open a data channel to us and send us your language codes because we cannot understand you.
Won't they realise that's a lie, sir, since I'll be communicating with them?
That's why you do it bad. I know that's a difficult concept for you, but don't use all of your faculties when you do this. Make mistakes, Tin Man.
Are you suggesting I deliberately perform in a subpar manner, sir?
I'm not only suggesting, I'm encouraging it.
I'm not entirely sure how one can speak badly in Trandoshan, sir. It is a terribly imprecise and brutal language as it is. Do you know they have 15 words for entrails, sir?
I do now. I do now. I'm sure all of those are wonderful. Maybe you can use all of those in our reply. Or maybe don't.
Tin Man, use my grammatical pattern as a template.
Ah, I see. Very well. Say what you wish, Captain, and I will translate for you.
Sentient friend being creature. Channel data open, language for translation incomplete.
He emits like a sort of hissing and sort of snarling sounds and sends back. It's replied to, and then Tin Man says, "They're ordering us to stand down or be destroyed, sir."
Well, fuck.
They don't. If you'll allow the humble opinion of a protocol droid, sir, they don't seem to be terribly interested in negotiating with us.
Tycho, I have a suggestion. It's a double-edged sword. I have no idea how this will go. You could try to bluff and say that there's an important Wookiee dignitary on the ship.
What will that do? I don't.
Well, they'll either then not try to destroy us because they'll think they can use it to make some kind of money, or they will instantly blow us up. I'd say it's a coin flip.
Okay, well, and how many sides are there to this coin? What's our? Is it?
With the current, I don't want to get into the politics of Kashyyyk, but I would say we have a decent chance that they would think they could make a tidy sum by selling us to some Trandoshan barrister diplomat.
Okay, Tin Man.
So,
broadcast the following. Sentient friend creature. On board ship. Wookiee important sentient being. We peace offering to you. Take Wookiee.
Okay. At this point, can you please make me a negotiation roll? The difficulty is 3. However, you do get a boost dice because you have a protocol droid assisting you.
I absolutely cannot make that roll.
And don't forget, you have 3 light side points currently.
Yeah, we're gonna. So when I use that, it makes one of them yellow.
That's correct. And you also have a blue boost dice from the protocol droid.
Right, and the difficulty is
3. Purple.
Can he get a second boost from me, like guiding him through it too as he's doing it?
Not so much from you guiding him. However, as we all know, Trandoshans do love getting their hands on Wookiees. So I will give you a second boost dice due to the mention of Wookiees.
Yeah, it's just scraping it all together because this is gonna go really badly.
There is a salvo, in response to your communication, there is a salvo of highly concentrated turbo laser fire that literally like passes so close to your ship that if you like stuck your arm out of the window, it'd probably like take your arm off, Tycho. obviously a warning shot. It was a little bit closer than like a normal warning shot, but it's not actually damaged your vessel. Then there's another barbaric sound of hissing and snarling over the comlink, and Tin Man says, they're offering us a choice, sir. They say that if we put the Wookiee in an escape pod and eject him, they will allow our ship to leave.
Link, Rollback, how many explosives do we have on board?
Oh, good question.
What about...
I think I know what you're intending, Tycho.
Yeah,
I like your plan.
They want a Wookiee in a pod, so let's give them...
Let's give them a Wookiee-sized barrel of explosions.
If I may point out one slight flaw with your plan, sir.
If you must.
They will no doubt scan the escape pod, and presumably, I'm no expert in scanning technology, sir, but I would hazard a guess that a large barrel of explosives does not read the same as a Wookiee.
Can they distinguish?
This ship has scans of me. Could we somehow like interface them into the pod? I don't know computers, Tycho.
I was going to say, if they are simply scanning life forms, we could potentially use one of the dead if they're still fresh enough. Or maybe even chuck one of the scientists in.
There's another loud hissing and snarling through the comms, and then says, I believe they're giving us 10 standard seconds to make up our minds, sir.
Let's try to fake them.
Yeah. So, Tin Man, please send... just send comply.
He sends that. They appear to still be counting down, sir.
I start toggling equipment to make it look like we're activating an escape pod. Not ejecting it, but that we're like sending power to it. So hopefully they pick it up with a scan.
Okay, John, at this point, I'm going to start looking. Is there... Because we have done the space hacking stuff before. How much of an incredible feat of wizardry it would be for me to reach out from where I am to the Corvette and start messing with their targeting systems.
Well, you've already got communications, so there's a signal established between you. However, you're at a vast distance, and it's a very large ship with presumably a lot of security on their systems. To stop so we're talking like difficulty 4 to like do that.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, especially with your skills, but
it's
like we might try, Tycho, not to take this off the table, but we could send me and the explosives over like a Trojan horse, and when I get inside, threaten to blow up the inside of their ship.
Would you be willing to do that?
Why not?
5 seconds, sir.
All right, I'm going in, Tin Man. I start throwing off my jewelry, my watches, and I run towards the escape pod. I need ordnance.
Yeah, get in the chemicals. I think there are some hazardous chemicals in the lab.
Oh yeah, the lab's like fully stocked with that science shit.
Yeah, just some volatiles from the lab, and into the pod he goes, I guess.
Okay, so you basically grab all these volatile like cocktails of like substances from the science lab, roll back, and like squeeze yourself into an escape pod with them all. You're like surrounded by like test tubes and like beakers and sort of hazardous waste materials and stuff, and like old fuel cells and shit.
Oh my gosh, yes. I bring the remote with me, not Tin Man, because I don't think Tin Man can move fast enough to get into it. But my translation remote, like, because I need to be able to talk to these guys.
Yeah, the remote's sort of like hovering near your shoulder so it follows you in.
Bam! Hit it and I eject.
And this tiny escape pod like floats out into space. Looking out of your viewport, Tycho, you see this little escape pod sort of spinning end over end slowly as it sort of heads off into the blackness of space. You immediately see a large contingent of these fighter craft break off from their attack on the medical frigate and start heading towards it.
I want to hail the medical frigate.
Okay, you get in touch with the medical frigate, and you hear a slightly panicked voice saying, "This is the Imperial medical frigate, Tiberius. We're under attack. Our hyperdrive's down. We've got no way of getting out of here."
This is Imperial Captain Dax Vasiri of the Oculus Tenebris research vessel. We have just arrived in system, and we have seen your plight. We have attempted to parley with the hostiles.
This is acting Captain Mandello. You can't parley with the Trandoshans.
Yes, well, we are currently in the process of distracting them from your death. So, what is your status? What is your fighting capability?
We're a medical frigate. We don't have a fighting capability. We're just delivering medical supplies.
You're an Imperial soldier, man. How many guns do you have?
We've got some small armaments, a few laser batteries, nothing that'll put a dent in anything that size. Most of our weapons have been damaged and taken offline. The fighters have been pounding us with laser fire and torpedoes.
Have you sent out a distress signal yet?
Of course, but we think they're blocking it.
What is the structural status of your ship?
Our hull's a little damaged, but it's holding together. We've angled our shield as best we can, but we can't take much more of this.
Very good.
I've ordered all non-essential crew to the escape pods.
If possible, launch them at these coordinates, and I send them coordinates for Ralbach's pod.
Those coordinates are in the middle of open space, man.
Are you questioning my order?
Okay. At this point, make me a leadership roll.
Ooh.
The difficulty is 3.
Can I make a case for deception because I'm lying out of my ass?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because nothing is true. Like, everything I'm saying is a lie.
That's fine. Make a deception roll.
Yeah, I'm just... Sorry, what was the difficulty?
3, purple.
3, yeah. Let's make that...
No.
Okay, the captain says, "Okay, I've ordered all non-essential crew to the escape pods. I've set in the coordinates. Escape pods ejecting now." And as he says that, you can see out of your view screen these small pods disconnecting from the frigate, and you see small thrusters come on them, and they start slowly heading towards where you can see the slowly spinning form of Ralbach's escape pod. However, as they're heading towards it, you see a number of these fighters just blow up most of these escape pods. They don't even bother trying to parley with them or scan them or anything, just open up on them and destroy them.
Well, that went well.
There's probably about 6 of them left, maybe, from this from the sort of 15 or so that were launched. Okay, Ralbach, in your small escape pod, obviously you've got control of the thrusters. They've not really activated yet because you were pretty much like ejected towards where you needed to be. Sort of like looking out through the small viewport, you can see these like this big cloud of like escape pods initially sort of heading towards you. Then there's just these salvos of like torpedoes and laser fire from this cloud of fighters as they sort of meet, and you watch as these explosions like as these escape pods flare up brilliantly, a brief surge of the atmosphere causing them to flare up into bright points of light that are quickly extinguished by the coldness of space. As you watch, there's a boom. There's like this body that's floated out of one of the escape pods that's been shot. So it thumps into the side of your escape pod, and you see this like frozen corpse just like, and then it obviously bounces off, and you see it sort of spiraling off into space.
So yeah, I'll push my head up to the window and look and say, well, that's not very reassuring. What's your function, remote? I really haven't had a chance to get to know you. We're probably about to die together, so
I'm supposed to follow you around and like keep an eye on you.
what are you programmed for? What's your capabilities?
Well, I've had a vocabulator installed. I've got a fairly good comm system installed. I've got a backup power generator, but my function to access that seems to have been disabled.
You can't access your power generator?
No, I can access the primary power. Don't worry about that. That's all fine. But my reserve power, in case I run into any problems, seems to have been disabled.
Great. Relatha gives me a broken droid. And I look out the window at the clouds. You can translate, though, to Trandoshan, correct? That's not going to be an issue?
I'm not really an expert, but I'll give it a go.
Oh, okay. That's the best but we're going to have. I'll try hailing the Trandoshan ship now from the pod.
Okay. You don't receive any response from the Trandoshan Marauder gunboat. However, Captain Dax Wasiri on board the Oculus Tenebris, you do receive a response, which Tin Man dutifully translates and says, "Sir, they're saying that we should leave now or be destroyed."
Yeah. Send them an acknowledgement of that message.
Very good. So I don't know if this will interest you. And you hear the sound of him like pressing keys in the background on the comm system. I don't know if this will interest you, sir, but I am registering that they're charging up their turbo laser batteries. Several of them are locked on our position.
How close is the medical frigate to the corvette?
It's about 55 clicks away, sir, but we could reach it fairly quickly on full thrust, I believe.
How quickly can the medical frigate reach the corvette?
Difficult to say, sir. It would depend on the damage their ship has sustained. We're not really close enough to get a full scan, assuming I'm working these instruments correctly. This is hardly my primary function. I'm not a tactical model.
Right. John, what do I do to scan if our range is enough?
It's a computer's roll, difficulty 2.
Right. Yeah, so scanning the medical frigate. I presume. Well, how does this work? Like, do we get boost dice because we have the equipment to scan, without which we couldn't scan?
No, because all the equipment does is allow you to do the actual scanning. If you had like some special souped-up scanners, you get a boost dice. But
Okay. So 1 success, 3 advantage.
Okay, looking at the fairly heavy damage that the medical frigate's taken, you think it would take that they're effectively running on like their backup thrusters. It would take them approximately half an hour to get to your position.
And the corvette is closer to us than it is to the frigate.
The corvette's closer to the frigate. It's basically all but on top of the frigate. If you I know it's a ridiculous analogy because obviously space is 3D, but if you imagine there's the medical frigate, the corvette's like there, and then it's like dropped all of its fighters out to go and intercept it. So it's pretty much like over the top of.
So basically, so what I'm hearing is, if I get into the frigates and fire all of their maneuvering jets, it goes straight into the corvettes.
Pretty much, yeah. You'd have to make some. There'd have to be some minor course corrections to the frigate to do that.
Yeah.
But only very minor ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're doing that. Since I have the medical frigates on call as well, we're gonna try and use them to ram the corvettes.
Okay, so whilst you're setting that up, Link.
Yeah.
You're obviously, you've still got access to your scanners. You see that approximately 6 of these smaller fighters have like converged on where the pods, these are like 6 or 7 pods, are like floating in proximity to each other, and they appear to be scanning the life pods.
Okay. Here's hoping they take the bait.
As you say that, one of the sort of fighter vessels matches the trajectory of the pod, lines itself up, slowly moves in, and from inside the pod railback there's a loud like as this fighter like magnetically grapples your pod to the bottom of it.
Well, it seems like they're taking us alive.
Yeah, that's good, says the probe. Okay, so Tycho.
Computer wizard time.
Okay, so we're talking a difficulty 3. One of them would normally be red, but with your abilities it'll be reduced down to 3 purple, then down again to 2 purple.
Yeah, and I'll take another 2 stress for that.
Okay, take down to 1 purple.
No, I mean, because it was difficulty 3, one of which is red.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's part.
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, so 2 purple then.
2 purple, yeah. And now let's just roll with that. Oh, there we go.
Not a problem. You through the comm link you've established with them, you effectively seize control of the medical frigate system. Now, luckily for you, because it is just like a medical frigate, it's not like a military ship or anything like that. It's pretty much a civilian vessel. It's not got like the high security and shit that you've been used to like handling. So you're pretty much like, oh, this is surprisingly easy. Here I go. Okay, you've now effectively got complete control of the system. You can hear, because obviously you've got control of their comm links as well. You can hear on their shipboard comms their captain being like, and their engineers going, something's overridden the controls, Captain. We've lost all manoeuvring capability. The captain's like, God damn it, man! Get me those manoeuvring thrusters back online, and we'll never get out of here. And you hear like panicked shouts of various stations. Like some people are like praying, others are like, oh my God, we're gonna be killed. Other people are like, oh, Tredoshans take people as slaves. I've heard all about it. And like there's various like officials being like, get it together, man. Get back to your station.
Yeah, and just ice cold, Tycho is gonna fire up all the maneuvering thrusters and make it, because the Corvette was on top, so it's gonna like get the hood up and then
okay,
is the idea.
So this is effectively going to be a computer's role for you. It'll be it's not to do with like code cracking or anything like that, so you won't get your bonuses, but it's going to be versus the piloting of the Corvette's pilot, see if it can avoid it and you can pilot it in. So it's your computers versus their pilots. So it's going to be a difficulty of 2 purple and 1 red.
Right, so no code breaking, but since it's a computer thing, can I still use because my cybernetics is literally just so that my brain can keep up with my
that's
like
fine.
cyber stuff.
Take the strain and you can reduce it down to 3 purple.
Yeah. I'm getting really stressed out using computers today.
You're getting
right.
stressed out. Ralback's in like an escape pod.
Yeah, with like nuclear waste.
Mm.
He's gonna have that nice, healthy green glow when he comes out.
Yeah. So 3 purple, yeah. Yep. And we're gonna re-roll that because I have a natural programmer thing that lets me re-roll 1 computers or astrogation per session.
Go for it.
So let's try that again. Yeah.
Okay, so you have failed. However, I know this is going to sound really weird, but you failed with a triumph. So although you're not going to succeed in getting the ships to ram each other, something about that situation is going to result in a slightly more positive outcome for yourself. So do you have any suggestions how you'd like that to play out? Because it's your triumph after all. I will tell you from the get-go that you're not going to be able to smash the ships into each other, not because of that failure, nor are you going to be able to prevent them from getting the escape pod back to the gunship.
Yeah.
Aside from that, feel free to narrate.
Okay, so 2 ideas come into mind. So it doesn't ram, but I presume it moves, at least somewhat. So maybe it scrapes off a few antennas on the Corvette, resulting in either their jamming tower being destroyed and distress signal going out, potentially summoning Imperial reinforcements, or B, their targeting systems are screwed on the Corvette.
Okay.
So, like,
so what happens is the ships do scrape into each other. The Corvette uses this to effectively grapple the medical frigate, again with like these magnetic grapples, since it's too old to have a tractor beam. However, it does knock out their sort of jamming system, the sort of stereotypically small satellite dish on the bottom of the gunship, and you register this Imperial distress signal being sent out just as you watch this fighter wing that now has Ralback's escape pod like zoom back to the Corvette. However, as the sort of the distress signal's going out, you're picking up that the gunship is like charging up its hyperdrive effectively.
Okay, so John, I know this is gonna sound weird, but we're gonna do some
as opposed
space
to all
hacking.
the normal sort of everyday stuff we've been doing so far.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to do some space hacking, I guess. Unless I'm gonna, because I presume that Link is being kept in touch with like shipboard comms. Yeah. So you would have a sort of a general idea, at least what's like happening at the time.
I'll tell you what, Tycho, to give you a time to think about this, I'm going to jump to Ralback and then Link to find out what they're doing, give you a bit of time to think about it. So, Ralback, you watch as this fighter wing that's like grappled your escape pod heads to this gunship and sort of like heads into one of the open like launch bays on this gunship.
Out of these this cocktail of material I grabbed from the lab, does any of it create like fumes? Anything nauseous?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of like noxious compounds that, like, if mixed together, they would create a fair old stink.
Oh yes. So I actually have a breath mask. So I want to fish that out of my belongings, stick it on my face, and wait. And once I'm confident that I've been sucked up into their hold, I'm going to start just cracking stuff that's not explosive and try to create just like a plume of nasty gas inside the pod.
Okay, one thing I will say is several of these like components are quite caustic, so you do face a risk of like burns and chemical burns and stuff like if you do it while you're inside the pod. A more safer option for you would be like if you crack open the pod and then sort of like throw the stuff out. Obviously, you're not in any danger of suffocating in here, but you might get chemical burns and stuff like that off it if you do it while you're in the pod because it's fairly cramped.
Okay. Shit, I'm not really good at throwing stuff or I'll wait and see. I'll see what happens. But I'm
Okay.
going to put the mask on and I'm going to start analyzing the difference between the explosives and the chemical stuff so I know what I can break or throw.
Okay, not a problem. You start doing your inventory. Okay, we jump over to Link. What are you up to?
So, I'm kind of poised, ready to fire, but deep down I know that this is probably not going to be the course of action. Tycho and Ralvac will want to do things kind of infiltrating and more slipping through the cracks. And Link is kind of getting impatient at this point. He's his hands are sort of shaking a bit on these controls. He just really wants to take them all out, but he also knows that his ability can't cut it. So essentially, he's waiting for Tycho to come up with a decent strategy.
Okay, so Tycho, strategy me up.
You've got the wrong guy.
It's not your most
So
stirring battle speech I've ever heard.
Yeah. I go on the comms and be like, I quit. So the situation is that they have taken the pod on board the Corvette.
Yeah, pretty much. They've got the medical frigate grappled to the Corvette. The fighter wing have just sort of docked with the Corvette, taking Ralbac's escape pod with them. They've pretty much destroyed all the other escape pods. They obviously scanned them and went, "Oh, those haven't got a Wookiee in."
Mm-hmm. Right. So, Link, quick question.
Yes.
How much do you want Ralbac back?
What kind of a question is that?
I appreciate your answer. Yeah. They're going to be gearing up for a jump. So we have to stop them here or we're going to lose Ralbac and a lot of money.
Then we stop them here.
Aim for the engines, and I'll do the same. And I'll send our ship forward.
Finally, we'd never ask.
Yeah, and while we are proceeding, I presume Link is gonna be trying to shoot, and I'm gonna be trying to space hack their system to screw with the engine.
Okay, so Link, if you would like to make me a gunnery roll, please.
Mm-hmm. Difficulty?
The difficulty is 3 purple.
Okay. Let's ramp the dice up a little. They just cancel each other out.
Okay, so what I'm going to say with that roll is you managed to destroy a couple of the sort of straggling fighters, but because they're in the way, you hit them rather than the Corvette.
Can't you reposition this thing? I've got little stragglers in the way. They keep getting in the way.
Okay. I suppose let's do that.
Okay, at this point, Tycho, can I ask what your computer's rating is?
I have 2 yellow and 2 green. And I get blue boost dice if that translates as well.
Okay, you register the fact on your computer that someone's trying very clumsily to like hack into your system from the Corvette, but you're just quickly like, you flick a switch and you're like, well, I've less of that shit. And you just like,
Yeah,
just like lock it down. You're just like, I don't think so. Off.
Yeah. Which is a thing that is becoming apparent about Tycho here. He gets really intense when it comes to hacking stuff and slicing. And it's like despite the situation, he gets annoyed by the fact that someone even tried with like, here's my please open me.exe. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
You're just like, you've got like ranks of like firewalls and like security protection, and effectively if this was like a hurdles race, they've got to the first one and fallen over it on their face, and you're like, amateurs.
Yeah. So I'm in the cockpit trying to reposition the ship for Link to be able to shoot better, and I'm just screaming at the console like, what are you doing? Oh, it hurts.
Okay.
You're so bad.
You estimate, given Tin Man sort of sending you updates on like the charge rate of their hyperdrive, that both you and Link have got like one more action before they can like hit that big red button and like.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try and hit back with a slice of my own, and I presume Link is gonna be.
Okay, now you've got a choice. Are you going to try and slice their systems, or are you going to try and reposition the ship? Because if you're actively like using an action to reposition the ship, Link will have more of a chance of hitting them, but you won't be doing the slice. If you do the slice, Link won't have the advantage to like shoot.
Yeah,
it's up to you.
Have we detected if the ship has shields?
It's a capital class ship. You've not detected it, but it's a fair safe bet it's got.
Yeah, because I guess it would be a fair estimate to guess that since it probably took no damage from the frigates.
Yeah, it looks like unblemished. Even the paintwork's not been chipped.
Yeah, so probably then Tycho will just be going in for the slice. Because it's a pristine ship, it probably goes like, well, nothing. We have to be shooting for a while, and we can't.
Are you using the full spectrum of your abilities to do so again?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw everything at this.
Okay, mark the 2 strain. Then how much strain have you got left?
I've got 4.
You're starting to feel the pressure now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot. It's hot. It might be too hot in this spaceship you're in, thanks to the Wookiees messing around with it. But you're literally like streaming sweat. Your hands are shaking a bit. The pressure's starting to get to your heart. So in your chest. Okay, make me the roll. It's going to be 3 purple with your various reductions.
Yeah, and let's use one of those bad boys. Okay, here we go. Could have used my reroll for the dramatic final roll, but here goes. Ooh.
Oh.
Who's the daddy? Just probably going like, woo! In the cockpit.
Okay, you are in their systems now. Because it's a massive capital ship, there's no chance you're just going to be able to like log in and instantly be like, engines off. However, you've got it past the first layer of their security, so you're into their telemetry. So if they do hyperspace, you'll have the coordinates of where they've hyperspaced to. Yeah. Effectively.
Yeah, that's good. And all I'm going to be doing is just like holding on to that piece of their system that I grabbed.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay, they're pretty much like, you can imagine the Trandoshans like pilots' hands like hovering over that big red hyperspace button. Link, you've got like one more action before they go.
Okay. All right. Last one. Difficulty 3.
It's difficulty 2 now because you are nearer now.
Oh, cool. Difficulty 2.
You've been moving towards them.
Okay, come on. Ho ho!
Nice. Let me just check the damage stats of your weapons. Okay, so the turret-mounted twin medium laser cannons on your vessel bark out these bolts of red turbo laser fire towards this huge gunship. That your shot flies true. Some of the energy is dissipated by their shields, which flicker around their sort of aft compartments. However, you do see the laser fire hit home, and you see like a couple of like small explosions on the side of their vessel. Then the vessel appears to like stretch and elongate for a few moments. Then it disappears, leaving just this like slowly dissipating like cloud of ionized plasma from where your medium laser cannons hit it. We then, for the final scene of this session, we cut to sometime later a large Marauder assault corvette moving through hyperspace to an unknown destination. We move through the decks, the camera panning through these eerily red lit decks. We see a large metallic bulkhead. Through it, as the door slides shut, we just catch the odd dark metallic outline of some sort of spherical droid hovering in the air. A bewildering array of surgical implements mounted on manipulators coming from the side of it. And as the door hisses shut, we hear, translated through the magic of roleplay, a Trandoshan voice saying, "Tell us everything you know about Dark Star." And then as the door hisses shut, we hear a loud Wookiee scream echoing through the corridors of this assault corvette. And as the scream fades away, the screen fades to black, the scream just lingering in the air for a few moments. And that, gentlemen, is where we end this evening's session.
Oh, God.
Thank you very much for playing. I hope you all enjoyed this evening's session. As always, I'm quite happy to chat for a while afterwards, but I am going to end the